ending the movie with the last shot of the Batman turning into the last shot of the Dark Knight. Damn son, you got me. Elphaba is a young woman ostracized because of her green screen who is forced to enroll in the Shiz University of Oz. The school rooms her with Galinda, the richest and most popular girl. The two initially can't stand each other, but eventually bond and develop a good friendship that will make them journey to Emerald City to meet the wonderful Wizard of Oz and ask him to repeal the anti-animals laws. Hey everyone, Creeper here and welcome back to Weekos and welcome to my review of Wicked Part 1, the movie adaptation of the iconic Broadway musical directed by John M. Chu and starring Cynthia Erivo, Ariana Grande, Jeff Goldblum, and Michelle Yeoh. Before I start talking about this new journey to the not-so-wonderful world of Oz, be sure to subscribe and follow Weekos on all socials we're on. You can find Weekos on YouTube as at Weekos Official, on Instagram and Facebook at Weekos Cinema TV Yang and Weekos Cinema TV Ita, on TikTok and X as Weekos English and Weekos Italia, and on Twitch as Weekos Twitch. Do so and you won't miss any of the Weekos reviews and content. Disclaimer, I never watched the Broadway or off-Broadway production, nor read the novel by Gregory Maguire that sparked it. I only knew it was an origin story about the Wicked Witch of the West and that the wonderful Wizard of Oz was the villain. I'm also not an expert about the world of Oz. I watched a version of the stage musical when I was very little, I barely remember it. I watched a 1939 movie in college, and I watched Sam Raimi's lackluster Oz the Great and Powerful. In other words, while knowing what the concept is, I'm kind of a newbie if you will. I also don't take musical, I enjoyed Wonka last year, I like The Greatest Showman, absolutely love Tick Tick Boom, and Spielberg's West Side Story was my 2021's best movie. What I'm trying to say is that I might not be part of the target audience, but I was curious to watch this movie and I was able to judge it quite fairly. And I walked out of the theater thinking this was one of the year's greatest movies. Not only was surprised about the whole story, but I thought everything was on point and it has immense production value. So first off, the movie opened like old times and not because of the 1930s like Universal logo, which I love by the way. It creates a mystery and interest revolving around the protagonist. It does this by showing the original story's crime scene, the pointy black hat in a puddle of water with a voiceover of Ariana Grande's Glinda claiming a thing or two about it. Of course, this ain't a spoiler. If you don't know the Wicked Witch of the West died in the original story and movie, it's on you. Then we move around Oz, glimpsing at the Tin Man, the Scarecrow, the Lion, and Dorothy walking on the yellow brick road to land in Munchkinland, celebrating the death of the witch. There, the first musical number starts, and it's not nearly as epic as the opening sequence leading to it. And rightfully so. After Glinda joins, we learn the first things about Elphaba, after which the story of the two's friendship is being told. Really an effective opening that completely captures the viewer's interest. The movie of course manages to keep it for the entire runtime, around 2 hours and 30 minutes without including credits. A behemoth of a movie, if you will, especially considering its first part. Yet, you really don't feel the length at all. That's because there is always something interesting going on, and on different levels of entertainment. Aside from the music, which is absolutely top-notch, the movie effectively alternates moments of ridiculousness with poignant and extreme serious situations. The ridiculous is not only there, but totally embraced. There are situations and details that are indeed bonkers and John M. Chu sapiently decides not to shy away from it. Both Ariana Grande's Galinda and her waving, or Jonathan Bailey's Fiyero being completely out of tune with the rest of the world are perfect examples of this. The library's musical number works mainly because of this also. It is ridiculous and doubles down on it completely. But, as I said, the film also perfectly blends in very serious moments, like the anti-animalistic episode in The Class, hence the not-so-wonderful World of Oz of before, an episode that manages to carry the weight of the historical moments it tries to parallel. There's the dancing in the cave, which is heart-wrenching at first but then becomes a genuine moment of joy. And of course, the third act revelation might not come as a shock to most, nevertheless, it does feel like an important situation that puts things in motion for part 2. In other words, we are in front of a very beautiful blockbuster that really does almost everything right. Wicked also has a lot of characters to try and establish. More than the ones you think, and by the end of this first part you realize there are at least 7 characters arcs that have been put in motion. I was really impressed by the production value, where a lot of things were achieved practically. Aside from the Munchkinland's 9 million tulips being real, we have the University of Shiz being mostly a built set, and the absolutely astonishing Wizard's mechanical face. Yes, that's practical too. They even build a train, though in a lot of shots they use CGI, understandably so mind you. Anyways, all of this practicability really adds to the atmosphere and the perception of the movie and its story. In many ways, it feels like a blockbuster from the 90s, and that's certainly a good thing. I read a lot of complaints about the cinematography, claiming it is a little too desaturated for Oz movie, making it a little less pretty than it should be. So first of all, let's make one thing clear. Cinematography and color grading don't have being beautiful as their first goal. Those have to be functional to what the story is trying to tell, enhancing everything on frame accordingly. While looking good isn't a sin, and don't mind those people, Wicked is a gorgeous flick, having popping colors just because of it is detrimental if it's not fitting. Differently from the 1939 movie, where the story was straight up good people against evil, Wicked is much more layered, and the film is, among other things, showcasing a seemingly perfect world hiding a dark secret. Therefore, the color, as well as some strongly backlit shots, are actually made to fit into the narrative. The cast is also incredible too. Jonathan Bailey does a pretty fun job. Fiyero is extremely ridiculous only for him to evolve once he understands, well, that. Ariana Grande was my biggest worry, given this is her first serious key role in a movie, but she knocked it out of the park. Her comedic timing is impeccable, something we already seen in her youth as well in her various SNL appearances. Drama-wise, she is really good given her character Glinda restrains from showing negative emotions, yet we perceive them anyways. Cynthia Erivo really steals the show and is a perfect Elphaba. She manages to show off the character's complex arc, balancing between ridiculousness and seriousness with no issues. Not that surprising, the two-time Oscar-nominated actress for Harriet, one for leading role and one for original song, long showcased their talent. Most notably, at least for me, were her performances in a widely underrated Bedtime Satire Royale and their show-stealing role in HBO's The Outsider. I'm really glad that the masses will finally see her incredible talent. Michelle Yeoh also did a pretty good job as Madame Marble, especially considering this was her first musical. As for Jeff Goldblum's Wizard, he is in here just in the third act. We see too little to give a judgment, at least for me. A similar discourse could be made for Marissa Bode, who plays Elphaba's sister, Nessa Rose. What we saw is good, but we have to see more to give fair thoughts. Is there any significant flaw in Wicked? I guess the biggest is that the movie wasn't advertised as part 1. This will make a lot of people mad. It's not the first time it has happened, Denis Villeneuve's Dune did that, and Universal already pulled this off with Fast 10. And apparently turned off some of the musical fans, given the show itself is 245 minutes, including a 15 minutes intermission. For what I gathered, they expanded the story by adapting more of the book, and apparently they will incorporate more of the original Wizard of Oz story in part 2. The trailer teased Dorothy and her gang about to meet the wizard with a shot that is not in part 1. Jon M. Chu kind of teased their presence in next year's sequel, though not admitting whether she will appear or not. We shall see. Overall, I scored Wicked Part 1 with a 8.5 out of 10. If they didn't mess it up, I truly believe Wicked Part 2 will be the frontrunner for next year's Academy Awards for most categories, including Best Picture. That's it for this review. Did you watch Wicked? What did you think about it? Do you agree with my take? Let me know down in the comments. Remember to leave a like if you liked the video and subscribe. My name is Luca Ripa, and I'll see you next time.